Hey, welcome to Performance Nutrition Call number one. I'm Coach Tom Leggett with TL Performance and King Sports International. And to get started, I just want to talk a little bit about the title of Performance Nutrition. Like training and with KSI, the focus first is to maintain an injury-free client. Do not injure your client. And by doing that, giving them the opportunity to play, just by making them more flexible, for example, you will create a performance increase before choosing specific training modalities or targeted training. The same, I believe, is true with nutrition. Whatever your desired outcome, whether it be losing weight or recovering in the gym or having more energy to be able to train more often or whatever it might be, rather than taking a symptom first approach, if you focus on every aspect that you can to be healthier, like nutrition and supplementation, stretching, recovery, and so forth, you will create a performance increase. So, with that being said, let's take a look at some of the topics for tonight. I'm going to share my screen. Now, anybody that is a customer of USANA or a client of mine will have access to this. Let's give the slow computer a chance. There we go. We'll have access to these calls to be able to interact live with me and with other participants to ask specific questions that relate to your life, to your training, and so forth. My name, as I said, is Coach Tom. I am a level 9 coach with King Sports International, and I am a brand partner with USANA. Let me think if I do that. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about nutrition and the compound effect, especially in the US, with the pharmaceutical influence, I believe, with when our mindset is targeted towards symptoms. Oftentimes, we also look for instant gratification, and sometimes that can disconnect us from what we might have done or didn't do that led us to where we are today. So I don't know if anyone listening to this has ever read the book or listened to any of the audio by Darren Hardy on the compound effect. And he starts it off always by asking the audience, and in the book, would you take one penny that compounds every day for 30 days or $5 million today? I think for most of us, the instant reaction is I'll take the $5 million today because on the face of it, if we compared 5 million to one penny, it's no brainer. You want the 5 million. But if you start to do the math and you understand the power of the compounding effect, over the course of 30 days, that compounding penny turns into over 11 million. So think about that. So what that means is that something small done regularly turns into something large and magnificent. And this is true with your actions on a daily basis, with your health, your training, and all of your physical pursuits, and even your life pursuits. Small positive actions each day over time equal magnificent results. Now, the flip side of that, and this is the difficult part, the challenge for us, as Napoleon Hill says, if we were to drift, for example, small negative actions that we repeat each day over and over can equal potential catastrophic effects. And when it comes to health and training, that can be major health problems. And learning to listen to the body is not something that everyone is intuitive to, or perhaps they've turned it off because society hasn't taught them how to do that. Their parents didn't teach them how to do that. Maybe they didn't train. Who knows? There's lots of reasons why that might have happened. But generally, the body is telling you messages each day. And if you're not listening to them, they get louder and they get more severe until they become major problems. So if you can adapt that mindset to listen to your body and more of a long-term delayed gratification, it's good to have success in shorter terms. It does give us a feeling of positivity and want us to keep going, but to understand that if we continue to do these positive habits and these things that benefit us for consistently over a larger amount of time, then who knows what's possible? And I really want to see what's possible. So, with that being said, we're talking about nutrition. Let's talk about the concept of vitamins and drugs. So, the term vitamins comes from, or vita is a means is vital for your health, and they help the body to work properly. That means that if you have deficiencies, potentially there could be some health problems because the body wouldn't operate at its optimal state. Does that mean you will die from a deficiency? No. That would be black and white. And that would be kind of along the instant gratification mindset that you either got it or you didn't get it. When it comes to our health, there's a spectrum, a continuum of optimal to poor health. And there's a lot of in between. And again, listening to those signals from your body helps you understand where you are and helps you understand where you can be and get helps you to individualize and really make better decisions for yourself. So vitamins are these definitions can be found on this article at askthescientist.com. I've listed it here. It's an article all about every vitamin if you want to learn about it. It's a great resource. USANA employs over 100 scientists that are actively engaged in nutritional research, and they write a lot of articles about different concepts, frequently asked questions, and there you can even submit questions to them if you don't find the answer on the website. So vitamins are coenzymes. They're important for cellular chemical reactions, and those are the chemical reactions that create proper healthy function. Minerals are also essential for life. They also help the body work properly, but the functions of each one are unique towards each bodily system. Okay, so choosing our supplement company. So we have a lot of choices in the US, and I'm sure around the world, especially here in the US, where marketing it takes the forefront. Our country operates on making the sale, on business. No matter what you do, whether you're watching TV, listening to the radio, driving, you will see advertisements or be exposed to them everywhere. And the advertisements are the things that fund everyday function in society. So sometimes they also influence the types of information that we see and try to influence us in our decision making. So it's important to really become informed and learn about when it comes to things you're going to take, like pharmaceuticals or vitamins, that you take the one that you believe is best for yourself. And the one that I believe is best for me and my clients is USANA. And these are just some of the reasons. It's a pharmaceutical grade product, and that just means that it is held to a higher manufacturing standard. And a fun fact about that is that USANA does this voluntarily. And they do such a good job that the FDA actually uses their facility as a training facility for its inspection agents and so forth. So they truly lead the world in manufacturing, in science, and product quality. And something else to consider when you choose is delivery method of products. So what do I mean by that? You might have powders, for example, versus tablets, which are compressed, right? Or capsules. And different delivery methods allow for different types of vitamins and minerals to be used and also quantities. So, for example, when you take a powder or a capsule, you may not be able to, the manufacturer may not be able to fit as much inside as could be in a compressed tablet. And it's also trendy to look for products that are whole foods. And a challenge with that is that foods can decay, and that can be and you can find that in those products sometimes if you look up independent testing agencies and so forth, like Consumer Labs. And there's also an article on Ask the Scientist about this as well. It talks about why they choose to use the types of ingredients they use and delivery methods that they use. You also want to look at dosages. So recommended dosages, RDA, for example, is more about preventing complete deficiency, preventing disease, and not necessarily optimal. So sometimes if you were to take an over the counter, this has just been my personal experience, I never felt anything when it came to vitamins. I took them anyway because my parents always made me do it growing up. But it wasn't until I took USANA, higher quality ingredients, higher dosages, that I actually felt the difference. And that was pretty profound for me. And then quality assurance. So we more than 4,000 elite Olympic and pro athletes around the world use USANA, and USANA guarantees what's on the labels in the product. And that, believe it or not, that's not as common as you might think. So because in the US, the only regulation is that as long as the average turns out to be what's on the label, then it can pass. So what that could mean is you could get a tablet that had zero of something and another had 100%, and those two would create an average of, or I'm sorry, you could have 200% or double or whatever, and that could create an average of equaling what it says is on the label. And you want to be sure that when you take something, it's in there. But back to the athletes. USANA offers a $1 million guarantee to any athlete that if they were to test positive while on the product, they would pay them $1 million. And guess what? That's never happened. Never had to be paid. And that's how confident they are. And I've been to the manufacturing facility, and they keep it under lock and key for the athletes. Only very specific people even have access to that. Most of the employees, including the higher up that gave us the tour, don't, because they have no reason to be in there. And then, as I spoke about earlier, it's like listening to how what your body tells you. So forget about what everything says is good and isn't good. Try things out for yourself. Make up your own mind. Learn to think for yourself. And lastly, talking about USANA as a company, the values they have is holistic, which aligns with me, which aligns with KSI, in that we want it's more than just a product. It's about a family, it's about a lifestyle, it's about happiness, all helping people in a lot of different ways. And the founder, Dr. Wentz, who was given a lifetime science award for his achievement in health sciences, started the company with that mission to create a world free from pain and suffering. Okay, so I've talked about supplements. I've alluded to a little bit about training, making yourself healthier. So let's talk about food. So what's food? Food's basically two things. It's energy, and you can get energy from fats, you can get it from carbs, and you can even get a little bit from protein. But it's also vitamins and minerals, and that's for to make sure the body functions properly. You can also take food for cellular repair and growth, and that can, of protein, for example, has a large role in that. And I spoke about there's three types of macronutrients. Macro is just like the big stuff, the main big categories: fats, carbs, protein. You could even throw in fiber on there just because it's important to get, and I think it gets overlooked a lot. I didn't put it on here, but micronutrients would be the vitamins and minerals. Sources, it's just essentially you have a choice with your vegetables and meat and all those other things. Where do they come from? Are they, if they're an animal, for example, are they a healthy animal? Are they given hormones or drugs, or do they live in outside and get exposure to the sun, which means they might be getting vitamin D and all those things that then you can, when you ingest, you get for yourself? Or are they unhealthy, where maybe they're sick and all the other things, and maybe when you ingest them, you could be exposed to that unhealthiness. Now that's a something that you might not see in the read anywhere, but that's an opinion of mine, is I notice a difference in how I feel from a protein source if I was to eat meat, that if I eat organic, I feel better than if I eat non-organic. And then when it comes to vegetables, you might have things like pesticides sprayed on crops so that they don't get eaten by bugs. But does someone go and wash them off? Or do they get absorbed by the plant so that when you eat them, are you potentially being exposed to chemicals? Or what about GMO, which is genetically modified? How do we know that changing the genes of the plants for, let's say to make them resistant to insects, doesn't have some effect on the body? And the answer is we really don't. So, although it might be claimed, and I'm not making a statement one way or the other, whether it's true or false, but I prefer to just know that something has grown organically and hasn't been exposed to those kinds of things. Because let's say if you live in a city like me in LA, I'm going to have to deal with enough things with air pollution, noise, all that kind of thing. So, looking to make my body as healthy as it possibly can be. So, when I build a meal, I choose a protein, and you can be vegetarian. There's lots of vegetarians that are healthy. So I'm not suggesting you got to eat meat or you shouldn't eat meat, but I'm saying that if whatever you choose, choose organic, but choose your protein first and then build your meal around that. If you were choosing animal protein, you can choose a root vegetable because it's denser in carbohydrates. And then you can choose some other greens. And then the biggest thing is get a variety because with food, there's no one food that has every, you know, vitamin and nutrient that you need and provides you all your energy so that you need nothing else. And then on top of that, lots of food is not grown locally or, isn't in season, so it's shipped from far away. So you don't know how long ago since it was picked or killed. So it may have lost some nutrient content from then. And you don't know for sure the nutrient content that it had inside. Even if you were tracing, you were being so detail oriented towards all the vitamins and minerals and blah, 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 fats and proteins in each meal. You don't know for sure. And then you're human, second of all, lastly, and we're not perfect and there's no need to be perfect. So even when we eat a healthy diet, we might not get, what's optimal of every single nutrient, and that's quite okay. But that's why we have vitamins to take anyway, to fill in the gaps and to help optimize. So, and the key being optimal health and not just preventing death or healthy enough to not be sick as often or so forth. Okay, let's talk about fluids. In particular, water. Water is so important, and it really isn't talked about, I don't think, enough. And I put this as the third one, but this is another book recommendation. So just to recap, Ask the Scientist, a great resource as a USANA customer. And you don't even have to be a USANA customer to be able to go there and read about, and you can look up all the things that they're working on and studying. But this book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, by an MD named Dr. Batman Gelly, and I'm not 100% sure I spelled that correctly, but if you look up Your Body's Many Cries for Water or even message me, I can share it with you. It's just a phenomenal book because like nutrient deficiencies, it can disrupt how we feel and how our body functions. And in my experience, it doesn't always mean that I'm sick. It might mean that I need to drink more water. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, I'm not one to really recommend that you measure it to the T and you get a specific amount, but I do think it's a good idea to have a water bottle or a couple water bottles to have around with you so that you know you're going to consistently drink water throughout the day. If I have to drive in a car, I generally take two water bottles with me. Each one's about a liter, and I have them in the car like at all times so that I can always find a source of water and drink it. When you're dehydrated, it just like the scale, the spectrum I spoke about, the continuum of optimal health to poor health, it's not black and white, right? So things can start to happen when you haven't had enough water and you might not recognize it. It can affect if you're an athlete playing a sport or if you're training, it could affect decision making, reaction in a moment. It could affect digestion. That's a big one. I found that when I have a stomach ache, the first thing that I do is drink water. It doesn't mean that it's always that, but in my experience, that is a big help to just make sure I chug some water, especially because other drinks like coffee are dehydrating. They're diuretic, which means you expel water when you drink them, and people drink a lot of coffee. Um, Sodas do a similar thing, and juices are, although they are liquids and teas and all that kind of thing, they don't have the effect that good old water has on the body. So start to pay attention to the signs of when you've had a lot of water versus when you haven't, and start to get a better understanding of your body and even maybe come up with your own baseline of how you want to feel. Like, how good do you want to feel? And how good can you feel? Have you ever tried to find out? So remember that things can, when you haven't had enough water, you haven't had enough food, sometimes you won't feel your best. And it might be that you need to eat a little bit more. Might be that you need to drink some water. Might be that you need to sleep. That was one that I haven't even talked about on here. But these are some of the basics of staying healthy, which will improve your performance just by doing these things. And nowadays, emotional health for one is another one. Taking time to give yourself rest mentally. All right. So I hope this was a brief introduction. I really would like to have more of a conversation with people based on their experiences and the questions that they have around these topics so that I can, if flesh it out a bit, be more specific. And I think there's a lot we can talk about here, but these are just some of the basics to get you started. Um, Remembering the compound effect that, unlike a drug, when you take a drug and you will know pretty quickly whether it's having an effect on you or not. Developing the attitude of the compound effect, where you do consistent healthy habits over a long period to really find out the beneficial state that you can be in, because taking a vitamin doesn't instantly reverse all the times that you didn't take one, or eating healthy for one meal doesn't instantly put you back to the best health you could be after 5 years of eating like total crap. It takes time to slow down that train and reverse it. And the longer you do it for, and the earlier in life you do it for, the better off you could be. And then finding us a both a coach that you trust, but also companies that you trust to partner with. And that's like USANA, that provide you with both a quality product, but have values that align with you. And we talked about the importance of consistent ingredients, pharmaceutical grade, and optimal dosages, and all of those good stuff, and science. And then lastly, just talking about some of the basics of food. Fats, carbs, and proteins are the macronutrients. Fiber is one that I brought up that isn't talked about a lot, that is important for health. You eat food for energy, but not just for energy. You eat it for cellular repair and function. You eat it for the vitamins and minerals that it might contain. And organic meats and vegetables contain higher amounts of nutrients, and they are often given the name nutrient dense foods for that reason. So it's always best to build your health around those kinds of things, and then use the high quality vitamins that USANA has to fill in all the gaps and really push you to that optimal level. And then also you have me. So you feel free to comment with any questions. You can for my clients and for my customers, you know how to contact me. Feel free to send me your questions. The next one will be coming up in a few weeks in March, so I'll release that topic soon, but feel free to join us live on Zoom to get any answers to specific questions that you're dealing with and join the discussion. Thank you. And I guess I have to end it on Zoom, don't I? See if I can do that. There we go. See you next time.